People in Boston can look forward to a couple of spring celebrations this month taking place in Jamaica Plain and Roxbury. To tell us about Wake Up the Earth and the Kite and Bike Festival is a guest from one of the sponsoring groups, the Executive Director of Discover Roxbury, Derek Lumpkins. Thank you very much for being with us, Derek.
Thank you.
I want to start with the event that's coming up this weekend on Saturday. This is Wake Up the Earth Festival. It used to be just down Center Street in Jamaica Plain and over to the Southwest Corridor Park. Now this is, I guess, a wider radius we're talking about.
Well, historically there actually were two legs of the parade, one from Eggleston Square and one from Center Street in JP. The Eggleston Square parade unfortunately stopped for about 10 years, and we reinstated it last year. And then this year we're helping create another leg from Dudley Square that will feed into the parade as well.
For people who haven't been to this event, talk about what makes it unusual and a good time.
So the parades are a celebration of community. So those two communities, Roxbury and Jamaica Plain, about 40 years ago, we're going to have I-95 run through them. And those communities, as well as others, help prevent that highway from going through. So in celebration of that, they started this parade and festival along the route of where the highway would have been. So it's all about celebrating spring, but also celebrating community and the strength of community in the face of adversity.
And of course, unlike a lot of parades, we see these bands that come in on buses from all sorts of places. A lot of the people who are taking part are people from the neighborhoods, and they're not just making it up as they go along. A lot of these are very well trained, very talented organizations.
Absolutely. So we have bands from the neighborhood, from the local high schools. We also have different church groups. We have different other organizations from around the city. So the Children's Museum and Theater Events are also joining us. We also have community centers like the Hawthorne Youth and Community Center from Roxbury, who also have a contingent coming again this year.
And of course, after the parade, there's a convergence along Southwest Corridor Park, so it's a good place to bring kids, sample food, I guess.
Absolutely. It's family friendly. There's about 20,000 people who go each year. It's been around for about 35 or so years. So there are food vendors, there are kids activities, there's a kids section, there's vendors handing out information, there's music, I think 2 or 3 stages, so there's actually quite a bit going on.
Talk about why this is so important for the neighborhoods in a way, because you know, you can get out, you can go to places in Dudley Square, you can go to Jamaica Pond, but there's really nothing like this event for bringing different types of people together in a real feel-good kind of atmosphere.
Right. It's absolutely a feel-good atmosphere. It's also about really using the talents and the assets of the communities to celebrate community. So again, as you said, we're not just busing in people to do these performances. We're actually using the people who live and work there to celebrate and to help really generate some support for what's going on in the neighborhoods. And
of course, this year's event, part of the parade going past Dudley Square as well? Or
coming out of Dudley Square, going down Malcolm X Boulevard to the Southwest Corridor, and then down to Jackson Square and into Stony Brook.
Right. The other event, of course, we're talking about coming up here is the Kite and Bike Festival at Franklin Park. And one change this year, at least a temporary change, this is going to be in a different part of the park.
Right, so we're moving from the northern end of the park to the southern end of the park because the northern end is having some reseeding or some construction done. So we have to move down to the part of the park near the Shattuck Hospital. So we'll be there this year, and then next year we'll move back to the northern end once all that reseeding construction is done.
Of course, one of the attractions is the kites. Some people bring their own. They have some really elaborate kites, but if you're just a beginner, it's also, I guess, pretty easy to get a start.
Yes, so if you're just a beginner, we do have kites that will be for sale, so people can go and make kites, and there are people there who can help show you how to make your kite.
And I guess the other thing too is if you want to learn how to make it work right, there are plenty of people around you to give you some advice too.
There are, and you know, it's funny is that there are a lot of young kids who go and their dads will take the kites and they'll run with the kites across the field, and the kids will say, "Dad, can I get a chance?" And they're like, yeah, sure, I'll give you a chance in a second, and they almost never do. So the moms have to step in and say, give it to the child, let the child try to run with the kite.
Well, what about the bike part of this?
So Boston Bikes is helping out with supplying some bikes. So they're going to have a bike rodeo for people just to test their skills on the bike, and also have bike tours around the park as well.
Now, for people who only know the zoo or the golf course, talk about the attractions for biking there, or even just walking through Franklin Park?
Franklin Park is Boston's largest park. So there are some woods in the middle of the park, as well as the golf course and the zoo and some of just the open areas. So just tons of space. I think about 500 acres of land in Franklin Park. Lots of different topography. There's some beautiful bridges. There's a pond. There's just so much to see. It's just a beautiful area.
All right. Well, Wake Up to Earth on Saturday and the Kite and Bike Festival on May 18th.
May 18th, yes.
And if people want to check out Discover Roxbury, you've got your website, right?
Yes, discoverroxbury.org.
All right. Thank you very much for being with us from Discover Roxbury.
Thank you.
Derek Lumpkins.